Hey fellow chess learners, welcome to our channel Pawnception. Today we're going to talk about one of the finest chess matches that has ever played. There are games that entertain and then there are games that redefine the soul of chess. Belgrade 1995, two rising stars meet at the board. One Veselin Topalov, a fierce tactician with fire in his veins. The other, Vladimir Kramnik, a quiet force of nature whose brilliance lies not in explosions but in perfect, unshakable control. What unfolded over the next 40 moves wasn't just a game. It was a slow motion storm, a war without shouting, an opera of calculation where every note was played on black and white squares. Kramnik would refuse to castle. He would let his king walk naked through the battlefield. He would invite chaos just to tame it with elegance. This is not just a lesson in attack. This is a lesson in timing, harmony, sacrifice, and the art of suffocation. This is the kind of game that makes a grandmaster pause, makes a beginner dream, and makes the rest of us believe that, just maybe, chess is poetry. Topalov begins with 1 e4, the king's pawn opening. It's classical, direct, and opens lines for both the queen and bishop. It says, I'm here to take the center. Kramnik responds with 1 c5, entering the Sicilian defense, famously combative reply. Unlike e5, which mirrors white, c5 fights for the center indirectly, targeting the d4 square and keeping tension high. It's not about symmetry, it's about imbalance and counterattack. Topalov develops his knight to f3, protecting the e4 pawn and eyeing a future d4 push. It's a foundational move developed with purpose. Kramnik responds with nc6, developing his own knight and keeping flexibility. This knight defends e5 and adds tension to the d4 square. Both players are still in book, which means opening theory, but each move is packed with intention. White takes the initiative with d4, breaking open the center. He says, I want space and activity, even if it means trading pawns. Kramnik immediately captures with txd4, exchanging central tension and preparing to challenge White's control through piece activity. Topalov recaptures with his knight, re-centralizing it to d4. This isn't just recapture. This knight now influences e6, f5, and even supports ideas like nb5. Kramnik plays nf6, hitting e4 and demanding White to defend it. He's also developing actively. Knights before bishops, always a solid principle. White supports the center further with nc3, defending e4 and preparing flexible development like be2 or bc4. Topalov's army is forming quickly and centrally. Kramnik replies with d6, reinforcing control of e5, allowing his dark squared bishop to come to g7 or e7 and laying a strong foundation for a Sicilian middle game. This is the calm before the storm. Topalov plays bc4, eyeing the vulnerable f7 square, the weakest point in black's position early on. It's a common developing move in open games and often signals tactical intentions like quick castles or central pressure. But Kramnik responds with a bold and somewhat provocative move in qb6. The queen comes out early, which is unusual. She eyes two key weaknesses, the b2 pawn, tempting Topalov to protect it, and indirectly the f2 square, challenging the safety of White's king. Topalov pushes the nb5, threatening nc7 check, a fork that could win a rook and disrupt black's king side completely. Kramnik coolly answers with a6, calmly kicking the knight away. But this pawn move is not just defensive. It also opens the possibility of b5 and bb7 later, expanding on the queen side. Topalov retreats with be3, choosing development over knight dancing. This bishop now supports f2, guards c5 indirectly, and could potentially anchor f4 in the future. Kramnik doesn't return his queen to c7. Instead, he slides her over to a5. Now she hits a2 and supports a potential b5 push. It's also a psychological move, keeping the queen active and away from the center, where tactics might later emerge. Now Topalov places his knight on d4, repositioning from b5. This centralization is powerful. It covers f5 and c6 and supports possible f4 thrusts. But Kramnik strikes back with ne5, another developing move with venom. The knight is now aggressively positioned in the center, pressuring f3 and d3. Kramnik's plan is clear: provoke, prod, and poke holes until something gives. Topalov plays bd3, defending e4 and pointing directly at h7. A subtle signal of a bishop sacrifice. In some variations, he's preparing to castle, but more importantly, centralizing all his forces. Kramnik now responds with neg4, doubling his knights near White's king side. It's an aggressive, flexible move. Both knights are now leaping into battle positions, one ready to sacrifice, the other pressuring e3 and f2. This move smells like a storm is coming. Topalov pulls back his bishop to c1. A curious retreat. At first glance, it seems passive, but there's strategy here. The bishop is repositioning to avoid tactical threats and may soon reroute to e3 or g5, where it's safer and better placed. Plus, it clears the d2 square for the queen or knight. It's like a soldier pulling back momentarily to reload before the next strike. Kramnik responds with g6. He's preparing to fianchetto his dark squared bishop, an attempt to solidify his king side, but it comes at a cost. This move weakens the dark squares, particularly f6, h6, and d6. However, Kramnik has a plan, and he's not afraid to create small cracks in his own walls. It means increasing attacking potential. Topalov brings his knight to b3, aiming to control a5 and c5 and possibly preparing a route through a5. This knight indirectly discourages black side expansion with b5 and cuts off tactical themes on na fight a4 nc5. Kramnik once again pulls his queen back to b6. She's making a circuit like a hawk in the sky, circling before diving. From b6, she's again eyeing the b2 pawn and staying on pressure points. This queen dance looks strange, but it builds tension, no movement. She's never truly out of the game. She's watching everything. Topalov's e2 is a multi-purpose move. It connects the rooks, reinforces the e4 pawn, and opens up long diagonal tactics with be3 or be3 then bf2, depending on how the battle unfolds. Kramnik answers with bg7. His long-awaited bishop emerges. With the dark squares already slightly weakened by g6, this bishop is now the guardian of black's diagonal and adds firepower toward the center and kingside. Now both sides are nearly fully developed, and you can feel the build-up of pressure. It's like two fighters circling in a cage, both waiting for the first punch to land. Topalov makes a bold central expansion with f4, increasing control over e5 and g5 and creating space for a kingside attack. He's saying, "You want sharp? Let's sharpen it together." Now Kramnik responds with the unusual but crafty nh5. He sidesteps the natural square f6, keeping it free for future tactical opportunities. Now this knight is looking to jump to g3 in many lines, especially potent if the f-file opens up. It's also laying psychological traps. Do you dare take me? Topalov brings the knight to d5, the very heart of the board. This is an anchor point protected by e4 and supported by the queen. It limits black's bishop, c7, f6, and blocks e6 ideas. It's positional gold, but Kramnik coolly drops the queen back to d8. This move may look passive, but he's keeping calculating. He's keeping lines open, especially the h4, e1 diagonal, and clearing the way for the bishop on g7 to spring to life. It's a retreat with venom. Topalov has built a solid active position with immense central control so far. But Kramnik's knights, queen and bishop are perfectly poised to spring a stunning attack, and the real fireworks are just about to begin. Topalov brings out his dark squared bishop to d2, connecting rooks and preparing possible ideas like bc3 or bb4. It also supports the knight on d5, reinforcing control of central real estate. Kramnik plays e6, a deceptively calm move, but one that carries hidden intentions. With this single push, he challenges the powerful d5 knight, opens lines for the queen and bishop, and subtle preparation, explosive tactics. It's like lighting a fuse, not a fire, not yet. Now, Topalov plays ba5, aiming to disconnect Kramnik's rooks and apply pressure to c7. It's a materialistic idea. He wants structural and positional gains. But Kramnik doesn't blink. Instead, he throws the first spear with qh4 check, a queen check out of nowhere. This move is a moment of transition, no more build-up, no more teasing. Kramnik is launching his kingside assault. The queen, supported by her pieces lurking in the shadows, delivers a warning. You left your king to expose. Topalov plays g3, trying to push the queen away and create breathing space for his king. And here it comes. The sacrifice that marks this game as Immortal nx g3. Kramnik gives up a knight with zero hesitation. It's not just about material. It's about initiative, about storming the king's castle before it's built. With this sacrifice, the h-file cracks open like an egg and the king is pulled into the center like a magnet. This move electrifies the board. You don't sacrifice a knight here unless you've seen something special. Topalov tries to fight back with nc7 check, a forcing move, checking the exposed black king and trying to gain time. Kramnik coolly steps up with kd7. This is high-level psychology. Kramnik knows that his king is safer in the chaos, closer to the defense, and out of reach for long-term checks. Every piece in his army is already aimed at white's king. He needs to stay close to the battlefield. Topalov accepts the sacrifice with hx-g3, hoping to defuse the attack and gain material back. But that only opens the g-file and Kramnik's queen swoops in with qx-g3 check, a brutal continuation. Now the attack is roaring. The king is exposed, the queen is in, the knights are circling, and the rooks, just wait, are about to enter. Kramnik has sacrificed a knight, left his king in the center, and yet he is the one dictating every move on the board. That's the hallmark of an Immortal game. Topalov's king steps to d1, trying to escape the open lines. But it's not just a retreat, it's desperation. There's no shelter behind pawns anymore. The center is exposed, and the queen's side isn't safe. Kramnik now plays nf2 check, another devastating tempo move. This knight leap checks the king and threatens the hanging rook on h1. But more importantly, it places a piece deep inside enemy territory, one that cannot easily be removed. It's a check, a threat, and a message all in one. You are running out of space. Topalov keeps running. Okay, d2. No time for elegance, just survival. But with each step, the king walks deeper into a trap. Kramnik calmly captures the rook nx h1. Now black has sacrificed a knight and taken a rook, But this isn't about material, it's about initiative. The knight sitting smugly on h1 is not even bothering to return. It's fulfilled its mission to clear space, disturb coordination, and force white's king into the open. This is also a key lesson for learners. You don't chase material in attack, you chase the king. But Topalov goes material hunting with nxa8, grabbing the rook on a8. On paper, it looks like he's balancing the equation. He's now up in raw material. But on the board, the king is wide open. His rooks are disconnected. And Kramnik's queen responds instantly with qxf4 check. A sharp, centralizing move with check. This move not only launches another attack, but also reinforces how centralized Kramnik's forces are. The queen is now ready to sweep in from f4, h2, or f2, depending on what Topalov does next. Topalov blocks with qe3, attempting to cover the king's position and limit checks. Kramnik doesn't even pause. Qh2 check is played with deadly precision. The queen continues the hunt, now from a different angle, with the king and queen tangled together. The white monarch has no time to breathe. Each move by Kramnik is a scalpel, cutting deeper into the heart of Topalov's defenses. Topalov is now looping between defense and desperation. He brings his queen back to e2 to stop the bleeding. But Kramnik plays qf4 check, pressing forward again. He's not going for repetition. He's maintaining the squeeze. The queen never stays still. She threatens f2, she tempts g3, and she controls key diagonals. Kramnik doesn't want to draw. He's not playing for safety. He's tightening the circle move by move. Topalov once again plays qe3, refusing to allow Kramnik's queen to settle anywhere dangerous for too long. He's trying to hold the fabric of his position together with pins and glue. But Kramnik simply repeats with qh2 check. On paper, it looks like he's just bouncing his queen back and forth. But there's a hidden brilliance here. This is not a draw repetition. It's a psychological squeeze. He's making Topalov burn time, energy, and calculation, wondering if a fatal blow is coming or if he's being offered a draw. But Kramnik knows that Topalov can't afford a repetition. Alternative for white. Trading queens or breaking the cycle would have lost instantly. The pressure is so intense that even passivity feels like mercy. Topalov repeats again with qe2, desperate to hold on. Kramnik now breaks the loop with bh6 check, introducing a new attacker into the dance. It's like a third knife thrown into a duel, one that pierces through Topalov's coordination. The bishop now pressures e3, threatens f4, and forces the king into flight once again. This is what makes this game legendary, the seamless transition from queen checks to full army orchestration. Each new piece joins the attack precisely when needed. Topalov runs to kc3, desperately trying to escape into the queen side, his only unburned piece of land. But Kramnik doesn't give him even a moment. He delivers qe5 check, a beautiful centralizing check. From e5, the queen cuts across diagonals like a scythe, threatening every possible direction of escape. It's not just a check. It's a net tightening around the king's throat. The white king shuffles to kb4, trying to find sanctuary behind his own pawns. But Kramnik now plays a move that is cold, clean, and deadly ng3. This knight returns to the attack with elegance. It doesn't need to check. It simply waits in ambush. It eyes white's queen on e2, f5, e4, and even h1 if needed. And crucially, it protects h1, which keeps the other rook or bishop from becoming active for white. It's a knife placed silently at the back of the board, waiting for the final blow. Topalov plays qe1, hoping for a queen trade or a desperate interposition. But Kramnik responds with bg7. The stage is now fully set. Every single piece is aimed. The queen commands the diagonals. The knight sits menacingly. The bishop watches silently from afar. The king, ironically, is not hiding but rather coordinating. Why not rush the win? Because this isn't just any game. Kramnik is painting a masterpiece, and every brushstroke matters. By move 30, Kramnik has done something extraordinary. He never castled, he sacrificed material, he marched his own king into the center, and yet he's the one in complete control. This phase is a lesson in tempo, harmony, and how patience is the weapon of a true artist. Topalov tries to activate his queen side with nb6, perhaps hoping for counterplay against d5, c8, or evening the knight at d7. But Kramnik responds instantly with d5, a crushing central break. This pawn move is more than just development. It does three things at once: opens lines for the light squad bishop, cuts off white's queen from defensive duties, says to Topalov, I don't care about your queen side, I'm ending it in the center. This is how elite attackers think. They don't chase every threat, they create stronger ones. Topalov's king now moves to a4, looking like a man clinging to a cliff's edge. And here comes the divine punishment, bd7 check. The light squared bishop finally joins the attack, and it does so with force. From d7, it not only checks the king, but cuts off his last flight squares. Topalov captures the bishop with nxd7, thinking he can defuse the check and breathe. But Kramnik plays b5 check, a devastating pawn push that explodes the queenside open. He is not chasing the king, he is exposing it. This pawn check is lethal. It deflects and defiles white's last hope for coordination. This is a rare moment in chess where a pawn is more dangerous than any piece. Why? Because it's not about value, it's about timing. Had Kramnik delayed this even one move, Topalov could regroup. But now it's too late. Topalov tries to run to kb4, but it's no use. Kramnik calmly plays kxd7, capturing the knight with his king. Yes, his king, which now proudly marches into battle. Think about it. Topalov's king has been running the entire board. Kramnik's king, on the other hand, walks forward to help end the game. This is the mark of total control. Kramnik doesn't just attack with pieces. He wins with his presence. In a last gasp, Topalov plays bb6, hoping to stir complications. But Kramnik instantly replies with qb2, removing a defender and threatening total collapse. Now rc8, rxc2, and even qc3 check are all brewing. This queen move destroys white's queenside ambition and, more importantly, cuts off any counterplay. Every move by Kramnik says, no, you don't get to resist. For learners, this is what domination looks like. Not just flashy tactics, but taking away your opponent's every option. Topalov plays exd5, trying to activate his remaining pawn and maybe clear lines for his pieces. It's a last-ditch attempt to make something happen, perhaps a trick, a check, or a distraction. But Kramnik replies with rc8, placing the rook on the open file with surgical calmness. This rook doesn't just threaten c2, it controls the battlefield. Every square on the c file now belongs to black. The message is clear, you can run, but there's no way out. Topalov pushes his pass pawn with dxe6 check, a desperate check. But Kramnik doesn't flinch. He calmly steps to ke8, refusing to hide. His king has marched across the battlefield and now simply sidesteps a check like brushing off a breeze. This is the lesson of the game. The king is not always a target. Sometimes the king leads. Imagine a beginner watching this. The one thing we're always taught is castle early, keep your king safe. But Kramnik, he walks the king into the fire and never gets burned. Topalov plays bc5, trying to offer trades or distractions, anything to delay the inevitable. But Kramnik launches the final blow with bc3 check. This check is perfectly timed. The bishop emerges like a shadow that had been waiting for 30 moves. It forces white's king into a funnel. No block, no shelter, just resignation by geometry. Topalov captures the bishop with qxc3, hoping to buy another moment, but Kramnik responds with a5 check, a pawn check that tears open the king side completely. The king now has nowhere safe to go. A check with a pawn this late in the game is rare and often lethal. It's like the final stone tossed into an already cracking glass pane. Topalov plays kxb5, taking the pawn. But that's it. Kramnik plays qxc3, and the board goes silent. Everything is lost. White's king is stranded. His queen is gone. His pawns are shattered. Topalov resigns as the position is hopeless. There's no defense, no shelter, no counterplay. Only inevitability. If you found this breakdown insightful, please like the video, share it with fellow chess lovers, and subscribe to the channel. Comment below.